Hello, everyone. We're from Christ Episcopal Church in Clinton, and we have a word we'd like to tell you about, and the word is PLARN. It's P-L-A-R-N. And it starts with collecting plastic grocery bags.
So about 2 years ago, the Sisters of St. Francis, who live in a convent in Clinton, Iowa, decided it might be a good project to do something for people who are without homes. And they thought and decided the nicest thing to do would be give a bag of sandwiches called SOS, Share Our Sandwich, with no religious ties to it at all. Then they realized that there were some other needs that people had. And one of the needs was, because Clinton lives on the Mississippi River, and we have a lot of people who live down on the banks of the river and live in the viaducts and everything where they're damp, something to be a barrier between the concrete and the sleeping bag or the blanket or maybe just the towel that they wrap around themselves. This is men as well as women. We have a very serious problem here in Clinton, Iowa, along the river. And so we started, the sisters wanted me to maybe find some other people around town who might be interested. So I turned to my church, the Episcopal Church, and said, okay, you all help. So there they are, and they're doing a great job. And then we were so blessed because so many people made them, we had extra ones. So we went to the police department, and they have a man who's an outreach person, and actually I asked him what his title was, and he said, I don't have one, I just do this. And so he does outreach, and he feels it's very nice to give something like this to someone and say, no strings attached, and then joke about they're made out of string. But no strings attached, and he said, and I also at the same time hand them a list of all the free feeding programs in town. And he said it's worked very, very well. So that's kind of nice. So we know they're getting directly to people.
This is October 5th, 2017. These are volunteers from St. Paul's who are loading food from the food bank of Iowa to take and deliver to the Lovejoy School here in Des Moines. And through this program, the Lovejoy School uses these food donations to assist in feeding families that are served by the Lovejoy School. They have a comprehensive program of social services and assistance for the Lovejoy School students and families.
With just 48 square feet of dirt. The pictures show some of the incredible harvest that they have had from the 4 box gardens at their church. All of the produce that they harvest goes to the Community Action Neighborhood Center's food pantry.
Newspaper stories chronicled the revival and renewal of Emmitsburg Trinity's 1879 Episcopal Church. Like a spiritual revival, the old paint was being respectively removed, taking months of scraping and then painting. Worship services continued weekly with lay ministers and an ordained priest who led a newly formed ministerial development team, inspired after a visit by Bishop Scarf in 2014. Emmitsburg Trinity is one of the many rural congregations in Iowa exploring a variety of ways to meet either ministerial needs or increasing maintenance needs on buildings. The 5 lay ministers spearheaded the remodeling, electrical rewiring, and complete kitchen overhaul in the Trinity Community Room, while an ordained priest, Kathleen Bascom, led Eucharistic services and college-level Bible study. 3 of the Emmitsburg Trinity members planned and developed a prayer garden in the church's front yard. Native grasses and flowers have been included in the landscaping. A Celtic cross made of donated paving bricks is the focal point of the garden. The Celtic cross honors the original Irish immigrants who settled Emmitsburg in 1857. The Trinity Community Room, complete with newly remodeled kitchen, is already in use by community groups, a permanent space for CASA, an organization offering support and counsel to domestic abuse victims, complementing the total ministry mission of Trinity Episcopal Church. Total ministry at Emmitsburg Trinity Episcopal Church, with worship services Sundays at 10:45. All are welcome.
In the spring of 2017, we decided to create a playground at St. John's. Our playground is a soft space specifically designed for children in the front of the sanctuary. The idea was to create a space where children and families feel welcome and wanted in our sanctuary. It's a space where the children can read, color, play with soft toys, and move around, all while being a part of the service. We want the children to become more comfortable with the service and feel like they are a part of the service as well. The hope is that if we start showing the children when they're young that they are a part of this church community, that it will translate into their middle school and high school years as well.
I like it because it's a soft space where I can read or follow along in the service with the prayer book.
Because it's a place where I can get out my Legos and still stay with the service.
And what's your favorite thing to do in the playground?
Color. Because it's a place where I can sit with my friends at the service.
And what's your favorite thing to do in the playground?
Play with the finger puppies.
Kind of because it has this area where you can do and play, do puzzles, draw, listen, and learn, rather than at other churches where you actually have to sit, and some kids might get bored with that. That's why I like it.
And what is the best thing that you like about the prayer ground?
Kind of because that I think the listening part is kind of cool, because you can learn a lot of cool things about God that you may not learn at other places, and you do it in a kind of a special way.
Every other Wednesday, the elementary kids at St. Luke's in Cedar Falls meet at the local cupcake shop to gather and tell a story. We begin with a cupcake, and then when everybody is finished, we circle up to hear a story. We heard stories about journeys. The Bible has lots of stories about people leaving home. We heard the story of Mary and Joseph and their journey to Bethlehem. We talked about what things you need when you're traveling away from home. We wrote a song about some of the things our family needs and asked our congregation to bring these items to church.
Day of Christmas, I brought before the bay 12 tubes of toothpaste, 7 pairs of undies, 10 games to play, 9 hearts for gas, 8 hats and gloves, 7 food items, 6 pairs of socks, 5 children's books, 4 fuzzy blankets, 3 bars of soap, shampoo for hair, and a toothbrush for dental hygiene.
We received hundreds of things like toiletries, socks and underwear, children's games, canned foods, winter hats and gloves. The kids of Stories from Scratch then took the items to the House of Hope, a family shelter. We learned how hard it is for families who don't have a permanent place to live. Another set of stories we heard was about Lent and Easter. We talked about Jesus' last week on earth. We made palm crosses and resurrection eggs. In the spring, we talked about creation. We visit the greenhouse at the University of Northern Iowa. We saw a plant when you put water on the water brushes off. We saw a flower that eats frogs, and we also got to pet a bearded dragon. We saw a bird that whistles the theme from Star Wars and a cactus house. We also learned about the plants in our church. Heritage church's Heritage Prairie, and we got to plant some. I think it was important to learn about the stories of God. It's also a lot of fun to be together and do things in our town.
A year ago, a young man came to St. Stephen's in need of food and a place to sleep. Sonny, as he liked to be called, became a part of our congregation and put a face on homelessness. He challenged us to address the issues that face those who, for whatever reason, lack the resources that most of us take for granted: food, shelter, hygiene, and adequate clothing. Jim and Meredith Tracy, members of St. Stephen's, noted that the majority of shoplifting arrests involved not alcohol or cigarettes, but food. These were crimes committed out of desperation. The Tracys prayed, "What can we do?" Out of this prayer came the idea of the blessing box, a place where those in need could find not only food, but those items not covered by food stamps, such as paper and hygiene products. Jack Trotter, a member of our congregation, built the box. We gathered one Sunday afternoon to bless it, and then we listened and waited for God to guide our next steps. Thanks to the Newton News, word spread throughout the community, and the blessing box has truly become a blessing to those in need. The box now offers inspirational offerings such as the Forward Day by Days, food of various sources, produce from individuals' gardens and our church's pantry garden. Recently, articles of clothing such as coats, hats, and gloves have been added. This box has blessed not only those in need, but also those who live in abundance. Many outside of St. Stephen's have donated money to buy food, gently used clothing, and hygiene products. It has caused others in the community to ask, how can we meet the needs of the homeless? A homeless visitor, a concerned community, a prayer for guidance. It's amazing when God takes the threads of life and weaves them into a beautiful fabric that blesses so many.